Okay, today we're going to be doing a disassembly on the single action only series of SIG 226, newer. So this would be for your Legion, your 226 Elites. This is the RX Elite, just has Legion grips on it, but for the Legion it's the exact same disassembly for the single action. So I wanted to go ahead and do that, so let's go ahead and get into it. Of course, we got a cleared gun here. Make sure the light is good as I can get. Empty magazine. Let's go ahead and do the magazine just to make it easy. We'll start just pushing on the button at the bottom. Do it the right way. And just slide it off as you go. Follow where everything comes out. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and put it back in to save some room here. Just push it down in there till it goes flush. So the button pops back through, and that's how you do the mag. Simple. Alright, from here, let's go ahead and do a field strip. Let's go ahead and take down the gun. Take your recoil spring out. I've already taken my thread protector off since mine has the threaded barrel aftermarket, and I've taken off. We're gonna put that right there. Taking off the Romeo that's on this because this is the RX model. Went ahead and taken it off and just put the screws back in it for to save some time here. So, okay, you're gonna want to start with the extractor on this. So the extractors on the new Elites are pushed out from the bottom. So if you look here, you're going to see this hole, and this hole's kind of a half moon, so you can't get the full-size punch down in there. So you have to start with maybe a 16th and push it out the top. Obviously, I can't go out the bottom, so I'll just set it on here. I'm going to use my smaller one. And push it out. I kind of keep my finger over the extractor. I do that. And that pins out. Now we'll pull that. Now, the extractor over there, and then you got to watch because there's this double spring in there. It's got a spring inside of a spring. Put that over there. Alright, from here you have your firing pin, which this is why you have to do the extractor first, because the firing pin, start of the pin is inside under the extractor. You can see it's kind of the same deal. It's got a half moon. It comes up and butts up against the top of the slide here. See if there we go. So you have to drive it out from this side out. So we'll start it with my smaller punch. This one's kind of hard to get dead on. Your punch wants to slip off of them. So I'm gonna take a few shots here till we get it right on. Ooh. Now you don't have to take it all the way out. If I keep hitting the camera, I'm sorry. What you want to do is just drive it out enough until you can push the firing pin block. And nope, it's not out. Until the firing pin actually pops out a little bit. Should be enough there. Nope. A little bit more. You can drive it all the way out if you want, but I always like just leaving it in the gun itself. Just there we go. So push your firing pin block out till your firing pin comes out. Then your firing pin safety, firing pin block will come out too with its spring. And now your slide's completely disassembled, of course, besides pushing out your sights if you wanted to do that. Alright, so let's get into the frame. So we will start with the grips real quick. You can see how boogered up these screws are. Bought this gun used, and whoever put these grips on or swapping their grips around isn't using good hollow ground bits. I'm just using a regular flathead screwdriver, tapered, and it's tearing up the screw head. So I've got to take those and fix them up. I just haven't done it yet. Probably a project I'll work on this weekend. File those out, maybe re-blue them, or I don't know, I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. So let's take the grips off. It's always best if you're going to get into guns, get a hollow ground, or gunsmithing, I guess, screwdrivers with their hollow ground bits. They fit in there's multiple different sizes, they fit down in the screws better. I've talked about them before on some of my other videos. Alright, so we'll start with the takedown lever up here first. What you're going to do is rotate it up, and then from there, just kind of rotate it back and forth. You can push from this side if you want until it pops out like that. And then there's a spring that captures it, so you have to rotate. I'll show you when I get it out. Just kind of rotate it past that spring. You can see this edge on here is what catches on the spring here on the locking block. So from there you can pull the locking block out, and then the spring right here, this is how it rests. Oop, back in there, like oop, just like that. It just kind of sits down back in the gun. And I'll show you something very important. If you have your screw like this, where it's like a flathead, that pin, it's not a screw or anything, but it's a pin, and that pin has to be has to be in the right position when you put it back through. So I'm just going to push it out. I'll show you. Take out the slide lock, that off to the side, and you can see what I'm talking about. These notches on the pin, they go back in the gun this way. You can see it could be this way and be wrong, so you want to make sure that it's this way when you put it back in. I'll show you once we get to that point. But the locking block will only, it goes down, kind of, let me see, it only goes in. If I can hold this and do this right. It only goes in one way. It can't be turned this way. The locking block won't go over it. So it has to be in the right spot, so I'll show you that when we get to that point. Alright, from there, you can, let's see, I like to take off the safety, or not safety, yeah, safety, and it's got a hex head screw here that connects both of them together. So let's just go ahead and unscrew that. Take this side out. You can take the screw itself out. If that light helped. And then you can take out the safety. Or well, no, you want to take out this little catch first, this little spring. Whoops. And that's what, how that hooks on there like that. Just gonna put that one in there. Then you can take out the right side safety. Alright, look at that. We're getting there, right? Do the magazine release real quick. It's pretty easy. I got a little tapered screwdriver here I use. But if you look right there in the mag release, you can see the little button that sticks up. Basically all you do is get the right side of it, something small. Push that button up till it pops up, and then your spring and mag release will fall out just like that. Pretty easy. You can switch the magazine releases around on these, and that's what this piece here, that's what the spring rests against, that's what it pushes against this piece here. If you wanted, you could, once you take this spring out, knock it off and switch it around to this side to be ambi. So we'll take the trigger spring out. Of course, pay attention which way it goes, but it can only go back in one way. You just kind of gotta look inside. You can see which way it sits if you're actually on your gun. But it's kind of gotta rotate it out of there. Simple. And there you can take out the trigger. Trigger comes apart from the bar just like that. Nothing holds it on, so it just rotates in and out. Alright. Let's see, what do we want to do next? Oh, how about the sear? Okay, so if you look down, try to get this as best I can. If you look down right here, the top leg of this spring goes down and underneath. Sometimes it's easier to look at it from this way. Down and underneath this pin right here. So what you'll do is just take a screwdriver, just pop it out of there, and that pops that spring out. It's not going to go anywhere because it's still captured by a pin. And then from there you can take the sear. You got one pin here holding this pin here, this pin up here, holding the ejector, the sear spring, and the safety lever all together. So you can push that pin out. You can take out the hammer strut first, or just decock the hammer first. I didn't, I had it down in the down position. There we go. Just let everything fall out. How about that? Safety lever. Nothing to work there now, so let me show you real quick how this all goes back together. You got the front pin sits on that pin that the spring sits on, so your ejector goes in like this. You got your sear, which goes in like this. Sear spring sits on top, and then that top leg goes underneath that one pin. And then you have your safety lever, goes in like this. That's what. So pretty easy. I'll show you. We'll put it back in the gun. I'll show you how all that goes back in. Alright, let's see what we got. Got the hammer and the hammer struts. The strut, pretty simple. You could have took that out first to take off the tension. What you want to do is just put a screwdriver in the back here, keep your thumb over it, and just push it and out of that track. Just make sure that little piece doesn't go flying everywhere in the plastic housing. And then your spring and your strut can come out like that. Alright, from there you can do your hammer. Push out the hammer pin. And she's done. Pretty simple. SIGs aren't that bad, like a lot of people want to think they are, especially a single action. Double action, you have your decocker. But the decocker lever is pretty similar here. It's just got a different spring that wraps up, so it's really not that hard. There's one thing I'm not going to take out, but if you wanted to, you could, and I'll just tell you how to do it. If you look down in there, you have the rebound spring and the hammer stop right here. It's a piece of plastic, and then the spring that the hammer, when you stick it back in, you're going to put this bar right here. If you do this right there, you're going to slide it up underneath that spring, and that's what pushes the hammer back forward, keeps it. Now if you wanted to take that out, you could just punch out this back pin right here. You can see it down in there. It'd be easier to see from this side. Yeah, right in there. You can just drive that pin out. It's not, you wouldn't need a slave pin or anything to put it back in. It's not that bad, but there's no point in really taking it out. Same with this pin here. I wouldn't take that out because that's what the rests on, unless you had to. Unless it broke, you could drive it out and then drive a new one back through. Okay, let's go ahead and put it back together, shall we? So what we're going to do to put it back together is start with the hammer. If this is the way you want to do it, you want to start with the hammer first. And like I said, we're going to take it. We're going to take it from the bottom. And if you see what I'm doing, I'm putting it, not that far bottom. I'm going to hook it up onto that hook, that spring. I really wish you could see that. It's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I got it here. Try to put the light over it so if you see it's hooked on that spring there. And then what I can do is just kind of pull it up into place. Take the pin, push it through like that. Now the hammer. Now you don't want to bring it too far forward or you'll slip the spring off the little lug where it stays on the hammer. And we're not going complete reverse. I'm not going to put the bar back in itself yet. Usually wait till the end and put the strut back in. I will go ahead and put the sear and everything back in now. So what you want to do is grab your pin, your ejector, your sear spring, your safety lever. What I do is the safety lever goes back in the gun like this. So if you're looking at it, it's got the little lip that sticks out. You can get a good idea that's going to go down in the gun like this. And what you can do is take your pin, get it started, and then capture it with that spring, or with the pin. Just like that. And then, if you want, it's easier to do from here. Just go ahead and slide the ejector on. It's got 2 holes, like I said. The first one slides over that 1 roll pin that stays in the gun, and then this pin you're sticking through will go through the other side. Oh, stupid. I don't know why I did that. Alright. Where did the sear go? Okay, so now I'm going to take the sear, and this is, you can see the way it's sitting there, and that's the way it's going to go back in the gun with the little leg here on the bottom towards the right side of the gun. So you want to go in and slide it underneath that pin, and get it as close as you can. get my other finger in there. I'm going to pull this pin back out just a little bit. Drop it if I let go. Here we go. So get it up there. Get it lined back up in the hole. There we go. So now I got the ejector captured. Safety lever falls down where it's supposed to go in there. See what I did? I kind of pushed it down as I put the sear in. And then I'll take the sear spring like this. You can tell which way it goes in the same way. Pull the pin out just enough. And just gonna drop it in there like that. Push it back. Put the pin through. Capture everything again. Make sure it's all. Let's go. Like that. Make sure it's all captured. And then here later I'll push the spring down underneath that one pin. I'm not gonna do that just yet. Alright. Let's see, what do we want to do next? Let's put the trigger. We can do the trigger now. Trigger, right here. So now we'll take the trigger. It's kind of funky how it goes in there, but you can just get the bar down in there, and then the trigger shoe itself will kind of fall into place, but you kind of have to mess with it a few times before you get it exactly up where it needs to go. I'm going to show you how it. It's going to be such a pain in the butt for such a easy piece to get in there. Come on now. There we go. There. That's how it goes. You can see through the hole here where your trigger goes, where that pin goes, and that's where the trigger bar lays. Just lays on top here. From here, let's see. What do I like to do? I like to go ahead and put the trigger spring in, I believe now. So I'm just gonna put the bottom end in first. Just goes in there like that. And then up here, I'm going to take a little slotted screwdriver and I'm going to push this end into the trigger bar. Like that, and that kind of keeps it where it needs to be while I'm doing other things. There we go. Alright, let's see, put the safety levers back in. Put this side, put the right side in first. Sits in got a hole back here, it sits in like there. Maybe. There we go. And then put your little capturing spring right there. Put it over the hole. Make sure that lines up. Put your screw through, and then take your right hand or safety lever, and then make sure they're both in the down position or whatever position you have it in, and then go ahead and tighten that screw up. Make sure it's going in there, not cross-threading or anything. I wish I had my T-handle. Hex heads, these are a lot better. These suck. I'm just gonna snug that up. Not super tight. Okay, that works. Alright, we're on the home stretch here. That stayed in place. Now, let's see, we'll do the slide lock and locking block, and this is, so I'm going to, like I said, with this pin, it's going to be kind of at these slots are going to be kind of at a 90, 45, I don't know, 40 degree angle maybe. You know which, this is flat, horizontal. when you go through, but it can be horizontal and be the opposite way that it needs to be. So you just, once you get it through, stick it halfway through, slide your slide lock in, get everything through where it needs to be first. Like that, and then I'm gonna look down in there, see, I didn't get them right. Got them completely the opposite way it needs to be. It needs to be like that. So, kind of hard to see down in there. Let me see if I can show you what it looks like. See how those slots are facing me and they're kind of part way up? You can see the way I had this earlier, that's not right, so I need to rotate it down just a little bit more. Make sure it's through on both sides. And then I'm going to slide the locking block down in there. Now this is where it gets, you can take a couple tries to get this because you got to make sure that pin is lined up right. You got to keep that spring doing the... Nope. So I'm gonna look at my angle again. I'll take it over here so I can actually see it. Try that again. I'm just gonna move. Just turned it just a little bit just to make sure. Like I said, it's got to be dead on perfect. Sometimes I like to just look down through here. And I like to lose that spring sometimes. This is one of the most difficult parts in doing the whole assembly. And then once you get it, you're like, oh, got it. One thing I know is that pin likes to slide out even though you know it's in the right angle, and you don't. Yeah, there we go. So it just takes a little finagling to get it down in there. So now I know it's locked in right. We can put the safety or the takedown lever back in there so it sits, it's got that notch at the bottom. That's the way you'll want to start it. So lever up in the air, get it kind of past that point. I like to go in kind of at an angle and just kind of rotate it in there. Same thing when I get it to there. I'm just gonna push it down like that. So now it's working. So now everything in the frame is in except for the strut and the spring. So from here, what you need to do go ahead and you can go ahead and start by putting the spring back where it needs to go. Like I said earlier, take a little slotted screwdriver. Hopefully you can see what I do here, and I'm just gonna push it down over to the right and then slide it underneath that pin. It's got kind of a little notch it goes onto, but not really. It just sits underneath there like that. So you can see what I did there. Just sitting underneath there. Now we should have a working trigger. Boom. Okay. Boom. But of course, I'm not gonna push it up till we put the bar in. Alright, so this takes a couple tries sometimes too. If you gotta, basically you're gonna go in like this, hooking it up into the hammer, and you gotta kind of have the hammer at your mercy here so you can mess with it. You're going down, you can see down in there, you can see the slot that the hammer goes in, or the bar goes in on the hammer. You kind of get up there. Can't see. get up in there. You'll know when it goes up in there, it'll kind of snap itself in place almost. Not There we go. So it kind of puts itself up in the place. Now you want to watch and make sure it's in the right spot, because once you put that spring tension on, if it's not, it can go up in there and feel like it's in there right, but what it'll do is it'll lock up everything. Your safety won't be able to move, your hammer won't move, nothing. So I can feel, I can kind of push it up with the bar at the back, so I know it should be in the right spot here. So now I'm just going to put the spring back on. Take the little catch. I'm going to hold my thumb down. I'm going to try. I ain't going to be able to do this with my fingers, I can tell you that. So I'm going to take my screwdriver. Hopefully I can catch it all on camera, but you see what I'm doing. I'm just going to push it up until it slides back behind there. But this can be easier said than done sometimes. Even though I've done it a bunch, I always... Oh, almost. Get up there. There we go. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of strength to make sure, because like I said, it might snap up in there, but if it's not in the right, there we go, it's not in their exact right slot, it's not going to function the trigger. So we can tell everything's in working order now before we put the grips back on. Nope, not done yet. Let's put the magazine release back in real quick. So it's just going to go in like this. See the little detent button, make sure you don't lose that because it's got a spring. Slide it in, get it to where it stops. Take your little screwdriver, push on that until it locks down in there behind there. Let's go ahead and punch and check, make sure the magazine releases. And from there, we can put the grips back on and start on the slide. So let me just throw these grips on real quick. Trying to keep this video under 35 minutes. I don't know if I'm going to get there or not. Depends on how easy that slide goes back in. Sometimes it can be a little pain. Could have done without the grips, but they look so good on this gun. Like I said, this is a 226 single action only Elite RX. This isn't a Legion. The guy had Legion grips with it, and the Legion grips are a lot better over the factory grips, so you'd think you get a little bit better than those shitty grips for $1,300, but whatnot. It's just the way the world works. So I love these grips. I love this gun. I love single action only SIGs. So everything's working good now. Let's go ahead and put the frame off to the side. Grab the slide. And the first thing I'm going to want to put back in is the firing pin and firing pin block. Get that spring, got the trigger. So firing pin block, you got its spring. It's going to set down in the gun. Like so. Wait a minute, actually. No, what am I doing? I'm tripping. It goes backwards. I'm backwards. There we go. It goes on like that. You'll be able to see, you'll be able to tell, because when you push down in there, you should be able to see there's nothing's going to make it through. So now put the push on it while you put the, you gotta keep it right in the right spot. Push on it while you put the firing pin back in. What are you catching on? Oh, God. What the heck? Oh, what am I doing here? I'm not pushing it up all the way. There we go. I had it pushed all down all the way. So now I'm going to push it down in there with my punch while I pushed on it until it captures it a little bit. And then I can drive my pin back through. But when I do that, I want to push on the firing pin just a little bit. I'll make just a little bit so it clears. I'm going to hit this, drive this home. Okay, so I know the spring is captured now. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There it is. Now I can take the punch and get it the rest of the way in there. So it's going to stop when it gets in there anyways. It's kind of obvious how it goes. And now we can put the last thing, which is the extractor. That's got a double spring. So you just want to stick that down in the hole right here. So make sure it stays upright in the right position. And then you're going to want to, what I should have done before I did that was go ahead and get this roll pin straight and in line. Can drive it down in there just a tad, and then make sure my spring is where it needs to be. Just like that. Take the extractor, set it in there, keep my thumb over the extractor. Just like that. You should be able to bring it down enough on the RXs that you don't start hitting the anything else. So that's why you can like take this screw out and hit it more from this side, so you won't have to worry about hitting the front. But once you get it down, the extractor will stay in its spot, and then you can drive it back where it needs to be. And now what you want to do is put your barrel and recoil spring back in. Yep, everything's good to go. Let's do a function check. Safety's working. Butter smooth reset. Eject the mags just like it should. For time savings, I'm not going to put the Romeo back on it, but hope y'all enjoyed. Hope y'all learned something. We had a couple little bobbles in there, but nothing too major. This isn't that difficult of a disassembly. Most SIGs aren't. So hope y'all learned something. Hope y'all enjoyed. If you like, go ahead and subscribe. We're going to be doing a lot more disassembly videos, and if you have any that you want to see, let me know. I'll see if maybe I have it, or we can pick it up and do a video on it. So hope you see you next time. This is Shooting Table.